So tonight, so one quick announcement, we'll do a little mini lesson. Hallie, can you mute yourself just for a sec? Okay, and then we'll unmute. I'm going to do a mini lesson and then we'll do Q&A if there's any questions, and then we'll do a little reflection. So this past month was...
I can't hear.
Hallie, can you hear us?
I can't hear it. I can't hear.
We can hear you. We can hear you. I'm gonna, hold on one sec. Okay, so we finished up the Stop Overeating at Night challenge, and this will be a little bit about that. And some Normal Eaters Club members are here also. So yeah, so it'll be a fun call and a reflective call, because I think no matter if you've done the challenge or not, or how many videos of the challenge you watched or not, these questions will be general enough to kind of still reflect on this topic. And this is, overeating at night is such a big topic, and it's such a common struggle that I could just go on for days about it, and I won't, I promise. I'll keep my mini lesson short. But one quick announcement, I am doing a Filling the Void Without Food. It's a brand new, I'm calling it an offering, because it's not a challenge, it's not a course, it'll be a month-long exploration we're gonna start November 1st. And it's just gonna be really different. So I've heard a lot of people just feeling really disconnected from themselves, from their bodies, just with everything that's gone on this last year and a half. And obviously food is exciting, food is there, food is comfort. So it'll be kind of a unique exploration. So I'm super excited about that. So stay tuned for details on that. And our mini lesson it'll be fairly quick because there were so many in-depth videos in the challenge. But for those who didn't do the challenge, I want to kind of touch on some important takeaways in the overeating at night struggle. And I would say the big one is, so there's three I want to bring into the conversation. So the big one is the importance of eating enough during the day. And so a lot of people think that the emotional eating can be related to emotions, and it can. I mean, obviously there's so many things I talk about around emotions and eating at night. Or that, we're eating from a distraction. And of course, all of those things come into play. But one of the big reasons we can overeat at night is that we haven't eaten enough during the day, and the diet brain kicks in, and like, you shouldn't be eating at night, or you shouldn't be hungry at night. And there are still times when this happens to me, when I actually get hungry and I'm like, oh, it's like 8:30. I'm not supposed to be hungry, so I shouldn't eat. And, those tapes can send us sometimes into that overeating or that binging, where it's like, well, don't eat that, but you're actually hungry. And so you do eat it, and it kind of can spiral because you're in that food battle in your brain. So just kind of reminding yourself that if there are times when you do overeat at night, or you're wanting food, like checking in, are you hungry? Have you had enough protein during the day? Have you had enough, are you satisfied with what you're eating, and eating enough fuel to last you through the night? And when I was eating every 3 to 4 hours in the beginning, well, I still do that, but in the very beginning, when I was starting this path, and I would eat dinner at like 5, and I would get hungry at like 8:30, sometimes even 9, and I wouldn't be going to bed for another hour or two. I'd be like, well, I'm not supposed to eat. It's nighttime. Like, I'm not going to burn off the calories. I'm going to gain the weight. And so just kind of having a heads up around if that does show up. Oh, Penny just messaged me, said she just wanted to say hi. She could only come for like 10 minutes. Okay. Well, she's off now, so I can't say bye. The second thing is that the overeating at night is one of the best lessons that we can get in learning how to listen to our bodies, because our needs can be so different at so many different times. So we might be tired one night and want to eat, and we just really need to go to bed, or we might be bored, or we might be feeling stress about something and wanting to avoid it and turn to the food, or we might be actually physically hungry. So it's like, it's such a powerful trigger to begin to really hear what your body is needing and what your body is wanting, and learning how to listen. Like, oh, what is my body wanting? What is this catalyst and this trigger for wanting to eat? And really using that, not to get mad at ourselves, like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? I'm a failure. How come I keep turning back to the food? Using it as that red flag, that sign, that trigger, to really explore, hey, what is going on and what does my body actually need? Because when we're not hungry physically and we're turning to the food, it's usually for a reason. Yes, there's some times where we're just like, brownies look good. They're there. I want to eat them. But is there an underlying boredom? Is there an underlying just kind of like itchiness or restlessness there? So really using that trigger at night to go deeper, because the nighttime is usually when we kind of slow down and the day is done and the obligations are checked off the list. And it's like, we settle down to the couch and it's like, oh, okay, now I want something. And those patterns can usually surface because we're not busy throughout the day doing things to distract ourselves, or just going throughout our day kind of powering through. And the other thing I wanted to bring in is the powerful practice in learning how to be uncomfortable. Because in the beginning, when you are, and even not in the beginning, even currently, I don't know why I just said in the beginning, because I currently still can feel discomfort. When there's an intense emotion, or there's a situation that's really uncertain in your life, let's say, this was a really big one for me. When there's a lot of uncertainty, let's say you're waiting to hear from a job that you really want, or something's going on with your family and you're not quite sure what the outcome will be. When there's a lot of uncertainty, food can feel safe, food can feel secure, food can be there. And so the discomfort of being in a situation, being in an emotion, being in that transition where you're not quite yet through the process of feeling it or processing it or waiting for the outcome, and kind of letting yourself ride that discomfort. So it can be such a powerful practice of leaning into the discomfort and the practicing that new habit or new muscle of, yes, we can be uncomfortable and it's okay, and not just have that automatic reaction to go to the food. And when I think about just kind of like, the times when I ate a lot at night, and I can't remember if I talked about this in the challenge, but sneaking food was a big one for me. So that, like, sneaking, like, oh, everyone's in bed, so I can sneak it now. And this sort of thrill of, ooh, I get to be bad. I get to rebel. I get to do something naughty, which is like eat cookies. Is that really naughty? I don't know. Maybe we need to get out and live more. But having this sense of like rebelliousness, or it's like this secret kind of thing that we do. I mean, that is a huge area of exploration and discomfort, because it's like, why do I want to sneak that? Is my life just such a straight line that food feels like the most rebellious thing that I'm doing? Where am I following the rules too much that I feel like the food is my outlet? So the discomfort of, I mean, and this applies to, eating in general, when we want to overeat or emotionally eat, but that discomfort, it's like at night, there's almost nowhere else to run. So like in the day, you can turn to a million things. There's a million things going on, things endlessly do, go to the grocery store, make dinner, clean the house, fold laundry, do your job, whatever. But like at night, it's like we face it. We have to face what we've been distracted from, or what we haven't looked at how we're feeling, or whatever situation it is. And that discomfort can feel very, very scary and very hard and very challenging. And so it's like, just a little bit of time, a little bit more and a little bit more, and using that as a practice. And I remember I used to, set my timer when and I can't remember, I'm sure I talked about this before, but like I would set my timer for 10 minutes, 15 minutes when I was afraid to be uncomfortable, afraid to feel an emotion, and journal and use that as my timer of just like, okay, I can be uncomfortable for 10 minutes. And if I still want to eat when I'm done, then I am going to let myself eat. And the weird thing was that it didn't last very long. I would write and cry and do whatever and be angry, and then it would move through, and then the timer would go off and I would be like, oh, okay, I might not feel quote unquote good, but I didn't feel that compulsiveness towards food because I let myself be in that discomfort. So a timer can be a great way to just give yourself a boundary and a structure around an emotion, because discomfort can feel like, oh, is this going to last forever? Will it never end? Will I just feel this anxiety all the time? Will I feel this fear all the time? So it's like, and I talked about this in the emotional eating challenge, but it's like we have this emotion here, and we're so afraid to go, or that, let's say discomfort or any emotion really. It's like we feel it, but we don't really feel it. We're kind of like afraid to feel it. So it keeps getting scarier and bigger and like magnified. And when we actually just let ourselves feel it, it kind of like can ride out, and we can ride through it. And we just constantly kind of like not let ourselves go in because it's scary. And so is there a way to use this night, this, evening eating, or evening time even, as like, a very powerful practice? And I think as we get into winter and as the days get shorter, this is always a huge transition for me, because I'm like, what do I do at night? Like what, it's dark at 4:00. I'm like, what? Because in the summer I'm, out and about and walking and going for a bike ride, taking my dog out. And so that for me was a big time I would turn to food in the winter, because it's like, well, what else am I going to do? I'm going to sit here and eat. And so can we explore what is there else to do? How can I use that time to explore me and what I like, and something that interests me? So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say about the 3 takeaways that were kind of, not covered all the way in the challenge. But before I go into the reflection, do I have any questions or comments or insights or shares or anything that anyone wants to ask, share, tell? Hallie, can you hear us now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, good. You're back.
I was so upset. I could see all of you, but I just.
We could hear you though.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Technology.
Well, as far as this, I've snuck food since I was a child. When I was a child, we used to have banana cream pudding or something, where you'd have all the cookies all around it. I don't even know, vanilla wafers or something. And I would go in the kitchen and I would take from the middle, and then I would be done. Then I'd take from the middle. And it wasn't until my father went in that he saw that there was nothing left. Then I get older and I go out to eat, and I go into the bathroom so that I can hide and eat. But finally, after all this time, and with you, especially with this group, I'm listening to what you're saying, but I don't have to think about it anymore for some reason. For some reason, it's gotten through my head not to diet. It's gotten through my head, give myself permission, all that stuff. And also, Jen knows, but I've had COVID for a few weeks, and I have been so weak, and I have not been able to eat. And it was amazing that some people actually eat like that, because I never, ever, ever ate like a normal person. So I appreciate all what you're talking about. And thank God I've moved from the night. When I was single, I ate at night all the time because I was by myself. And that's over.
That's a, that's a good one to bring in, loneliness, like eating for loneliness, like when you're by yourself. Yeah. And Hallie, I hope you're feeling better. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting because when you're sick, it's almost like when you can eat again, there's this new appreciation for eating. You're like, wow,
Mm,
I can eat
there
again.
is, yeah,
Or
there
like I
is,
want things again, kind of thing.
there is, but I still have to go very slowly
Yeah.
because my stomach still, I can't have anything because of all I had was Jello and applesauce and bread for 2 weeks. So um, it was the worst experience I ever had.
I'm glad you're feeling better and you're on the mend.
Yes. And the
Yes.
doctor said that because I had a vaccine, I did not, he said I would have been in the hospital on a ventilator if I hadn't had the vaccine. So I want everybody to get the vaccine.
Well, you look back to yourself.
And I hate to say weight, but I'm very much thinner too.
So just kind of, Hallie, what you were saying before about, having not, you don't have to think about it. Like it's, the point of this process eventually is that yes, there's reflection, and yes, there's looking at emotion, but it's not as much work, if that makes sense. So letting go of patterns and breaking out of habits and automatic things we do for food can be so ingrained. And so there is that unlearning, and that being patient with ourselves as it gets into our brain and as it just sits there and percolates and kind of forms new habits and patterns and the grooves. And so, yes, I'm glad that you brought that in, because there is, yes, there is that path towards, you don't have to think about it anymore in the same way that you used to think about it.
And can I say, and if you're not quite as far as I am at this point, I give you a little tip. If you live with someone, anyone, I would put everything that I wanted in my husband's office, and he wouldn't tell me where it was. And he would just divvy out one thing at a time as I wanted it. I would ask him, I want this cookie, and he'd just give it to me. And that was the only way I could get through not looking at the food all day long.
You never told me that. I never knew that. I've never tried that.
It's all still in his office.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I always say whatever works. I used to when I would make like holiday cookies and I was like, oh my gosh, I would take them out and put them in my trunk and, taking them to work or like take them to a neighbor's. So, hey, whatever works. Okay. I want to do some reflections. If Amy or Therese, do you guys have anything you want to add? If not, I'm going to,
well, I did. I wanted to just say, and you've given in all the videos some really good places for me to start unpacking some stuff, because I'm early in the journey. I know for me, evening eating tends to be habitual. It like, when my husband turns the TV on at the end of the day, because I really don't struggle a lot during the day. Like you said, I'm busy. I've got other things to do. Even if I'm tired or emotional during the day, for some reason, that's not my weak point, if you will. There's just something habitual about the TV coming on, or if we, it's like, if we're going to watch a movie. And I mean, I think it's important for us to have fun little rituals and traditions. If we're going to have a family movie night, okay, we're going to fix popcorn and we're going to, I think that's fine. I think that's different than just that evening habit of, even if we ate late, turn the TV on and pull out a bag of something. Because for me, it's more salty, crunchy, carby, And so I appreciate a lot of the tips. And like you said, learning how to be uncomfortable. And I like your tip about setting the timer even. I've never really thought about that. But yeah, because there is that period of discomfort where I'm just like fighting. Like, I know I'm not hungry. I know I'm not. I know I'm not feeding hunger. I'm feeding boredom, or I'm feeding just, I'm tired at the end of the day, and this is how I want to unwind. But food shouldn't be my unwind. So I don't know. That's not really a question. That's more of a comment. But
Do you eat in front of your husband, or do you eat it?
yeah, usually. I'm not going to say I never hide, but yeah, usually.
Yeah, and that's also a good point, the habit piece, because sometimes it is just a habit. It's like we
Yeah.
come home from
Yes.
work, we go to the pantry, or you sit down on the couch, and then we want the food, the TV turns on, then we want the chips or whatever. And
It's like a trigger,
yeah.
you know?
And so I think when you're talking about the discomfort, it might be the discomfort of the unfamiliarity of developing a new habit.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you go to the grocery store the same way, and then you do it a different way, you're like, this doesn't feel right. Or something that you do that's new, it feels weird, it feels
Yeah.
unfamiliar. And it's exploring what else besides when the TV turns on. Is there a crossword puzzle? Is there a journal? Is there a magazine? Or is it like an itchiness, like you need to do something or choose something? Or like, what is that? Did you explore, I don't know, in the challenge, like what is it that you're kind of wanting from that?
I haven't yet, but I've because it's a lot of meat in there. So, but I do think it's kind of feeling like I need to do something. Like, I always grew up, for some reason, my family would sit at the table and we'd read and eat. So there's something about reading and eating, or having the TV on and eating, that just, it's like something else to do.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about maybe getting some of those coloring pages and just keeping that where I sit generally to watch TV. And then I can just kind of pull that out and have that to do, because it just all keeps the rest of my mind. Because I don't want to always watch what my husband wants to watch, but I want to be with him. So
Yeah. And so that's actually what you're saying is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this new offering thingy, because, and this was like, so there's a famous quote. It's, the cause of all human suffering is the inability to be with oneself. So it's like that like underlying itchiness, or like just angst to like do. And it might be really subtle, but it's like, as soon as we have nothing to do, it's like, well, then what? It's like, we want to do something. And so, exploring coloring, like something meditative, or like you can still do, but it's also meditative. So those are all great ideas, just to see where you can kind of explore. And I think it's interesting how you can explore it while being with your husband. I mean, that's kind of an interesting, because I would always have to like go away. Like I need to like, go to my own little space and like do my journaling or my whatever. Cause I was like, no one can see me. I don't know. So I love that you're like, that's vulnerability to you want to eat, you want to be with him. And so you're doing it, you're working through it with him.
I mean, he's supportive. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing.
Jen, will you tell me again what the November offering is?
It is filling the void without food. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be just kind of I'm calling it an exploration, because I'm like, I don't know what another word is.
Yeah. That
because
sounds awesome.
it's so it really is. I remember so vividly the woman I worked with telling me this quote, like, the inability to sit with oneself is the cause of all your suffering. I was like, oh my God, that's why I eat. Like, underneath all of it, I'm like, that's why I eat. I can't be with myself. I can't be with anything, any emotion, anything. So it was like, it really stuck with me. And I think underneath the emotions and underneath, like you keep going down, it's like, we can't be with ourselves. Like it's terrifying, especially in this world. Think about how many distractions there are. I mean, we're on our phones all day. We're surfing the web all day. We're, talking to people all day. We're constantly engaged externally. And so we never learn, okay, well, how do I actually be with myself? So I don't know. And lately I've been like so passionate about this topic. I don't know why. I don't know why it's surfing. I think it's because I've had a lot of conversations with women about this. Hell yeah.
In November, are you going to have it like you do sometimes where you have lessons or what?
Yeah, it'll be a mix of like audios and like a workbook kind of thing. Some email kind of like practices.
That's the way I need it. I need structure.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. So there's 3 questions. So these are kind of how we usually do this. You kind of, if you don't have a pen, you can kind of think about them, or you can write down your answers to kind of reflect on them. And then we'll circle back and share if we want. If not, no pressure at all to share. And then we'll kind of close with a little bit of a meditation. Okay. So the first question is, and I'll read them and then give you just, I don't know, about a minute or two to think about it. What have you learned most about your evening habits during the challenge? And if you didn't do the challenge, I would just say recently. What have you learned most about your evening eating habits during the challenge?
I'm not on the challenge.
Yeah, so I would just say do it recently. Like, have you learned, I would say besides when you were sick, so maybe, in the last few months, has there been any kind of enlightening insights about your eating habits? Okay, I'll give you about another 30 seconds. Okay, number 2, think of the last time you wanted to eat when you weren't hungry. What was it you really, really wanted? Think of the last time you wanted to eat when you weren't hungry. What was it you really, really wanted?
Jen, do you mean like what did I really want, not in food?
Yes, in like just in general, yeah.
Gotcha.
Mhm. Okay, another 30 seconds here. Okay, and the last one might be a hard one. So if you don't have an answer, it's okay. What is your trigger to eat a doorway into? What is your trigger to eat a doorway into? Okay, I think about another 30 seconds. Okay, is everyone good? Okay. So, the first one, what have you learned most about your evening evening habits during the challenge or just recently? Does anyone want to share or ask questions or gain any insights into that? I'm actually going to unmute everyone just because it's a small group. Wait, can I unmute everyone? Unmute, unmute, I think.
Well, I don't mind jumping in. I think for me, being present has been big. Still not there, but I'm getting there, working on it. I liked what you talked about, finding satisfaction. So I've been working more to make sure that my food choices actually satisfy me, so then I don't feel like I've got to go eat something else.
Mhm.
That's kind of big for me. I realized, that if I'm, and I mean, I think that's a luxury we have in this country, obviously, to pick something that we like or we're satisfied with. But nonetheless, that does help me not continue to just keep trying things until I find something that does the trick, so to speak. And then the last thing for me was what you talked about, process or distraction. Do I need a distraction right now? Like I was saying earlier, do I need to just pull out a coloring book and just sit and do something else? Or do I really need to process like what's going on? I know sometimes if I sit down, I don't know, I noticed that often I sit down and my heart's racing when I'm sitting down. I'm feeling some anxiety, and it's like, well, why am I feeling that right now? So that would be my answer.
Yeah, those are really good insights. And I think the satisfaction is huge, because I was just talking to someone about this morning, because she really wanted some of her son's mac and cheese that she makes him for dinner, but she didn't want to let herself have it. So she would eat around it. Like I call it eating around, like you eat a pretzel, you have a salad, you have a piece of cheese, and you have all these other things, and then you still want the mac and cheese. So it's like
So then
eating
you go eat it.
around, and then you're like, but I want it anyway, so I ate all these other things, and then I ate that. So that is a big realization. Hold on one second, Hallie. And yes, the process versus distraction is a great one to bring into, because it's like sometimes, we're not going to process every single emotion because it can be exhausting and tiring. And sometimes you just need a distraction. You need to put on a good movie, read a good book, color, call someone, clean your closet, do whatever. So yeah, those are really good insights. Hallie, go ahead.
What I've really learned finally is the hunger scale. That's where I had my biggest problem, was the eating when you're not hungry. And now I'm really stopping and listening to my body. And we go out a lot, and I never eat the whole thing. I always only eat half and put the rest in a to-go box. And that's the only way I can do it. The waitresses know to bring me the to-go box when the food comes so that I can take half off my plate. But that's been the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, the hunger scale is also a big one of learning. Am I hungry? Am I not? And fullness, obviously. Am I full? Am I not? Yeah, that's a really good one. A good insight. Amy, want to share, or you good?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. No. So I didn't do the challenge, but what came up for me with this question is lately I've been dealing with a lot of hot flashes, and so I have I think it's become a bad habit, but I crave something cold and creamy. And so I need to figure what?
Understandable.
So I need to figure out another way around that.
Healthy choice fudge bars.
Noted.
You can take an ice cold shower.
Yes. 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 Then I'll be cold, and then I'll want something warm. Yeah. Temperature eating, is that a thing? I don't know.
It could be a thing.
Feels like it is for me sometimes.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it's also, and I feel like you guys are bringing in such good points, because sometimes you might need to honor that. Sometimes it's letting yourself have the cold, creamy thing. It's just not having it be the default go-to.
That's the habit. That's the habit part.
The habit. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I've said this before, but like, we're human. We emotionally eat every once in a while. My mom is the most normal eater alive, and she literally will just sometimes eat too many Oreos because she loves Oreos. Or she's just had a stressful day, and I just remember growing up, like, I'm like, where did I come from? She's so normal. But okay, so the second one is, think of the last time you wanted to eat when you weren't hungry, and what was it that you really, really wanted? So I want to jump in first so I can give everyone permission to not have, there's no wrong answers here, but mine was to escape sadness. And I realized the implication of that was that I shouldn't feel sad. So I felt sadness. You shouldn't feel sad. I'm judging myself for feeling sad. Like, you have a great life. Why are you feeling sad? You shouldn't feel sad. So it was like I felt sad. I wanted, and it was just something, not of like an enormous weight, not a big sadness or anything, just felt a little sad. And like the judgment onto that emotion of like, feel sad, shouldn't feel sad. And then, you're kind of like battling, well, I feel sad, but it shouldn't feel sad. And so, yeah. So for me, it's always that double layer of like, I feel something, I tell myself I shouldn't feel it, or I judge myself for feeling it. And then it creates this like resistance within me, which then makes me, oh, like those cookies look good or something. So anyone else have any insights on that one?
I thought about my last time, and it was just kind of walking in. I don't work outside the home, but I had gone to something at church, and I came home, and it was the first time I'd seen my husband for the day, and he had eaten before I got home. And so it was just grab something and sit down to unwind. And I think what I was looking for was to relax. Food was a way to you know,
Mhm.
Yeah. Isn't it strange that we learn that food is relaxing, or like we use food to relax? It's like, where did all of us learn that?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good one. The using food to relax. Any other shares on that one?
I would say social events.
And like are you wanting to like ease anxiety in the social events? Yeah. And that actually is so tied into like the discomfort, because it's like, well, what if you have an awkward pause, or what if you have nothing to say, or what if you don't feel like talking anymore, or all of that stuff. Yeah,
Yep.
that's a good one too. Social situations. Yeah. Hallie.
I think about how much worse I'm going to feel later because I don't want to hate myself anymore. I don't want to wring my stomach because I hate my stomach anymore. So that's what I think about is, what's the point? What are you going to feel like later?
So how did you make that link? So people get stuck on, I know I'm going to hate myself later, but I can't not eat it. So how did you make that link?
I just think, see, I have an eating disorder also, but I think the pain was so strong that I finally said, I got to do something about it.
Yeah. Okay, the last question, I wonder if anyone has an answer. I was writing my questions and I was like, is this going to make everyone want to hang up? What is the trigger to eat a doorway into?
Into.
Yeah.
What is your trigger to eat a doorway into?
So I wrote down, I don't know if this is the direction, but I put my soul, insecurities, and feelings of unworthiness.
Yeah.
Huh.
Mm,
Wait, say it again. That's really powerful.
yeah.
Well, the question, what is my trigger to eat a doorway into? My soul, insecurities, feelings of unworthiness.
Yeah. Hallie.
What is your trigger to eat a doorway into? Not being present.
Mm.
When I was with my ex-husband and children, when I would walk in, they would always say, "Are you sugar-free, Mom, or not?" We like sugar-free, Mom, better. And then they would kind of be on their own, and I would always feel sort of like an outsider, and the night would go and I wouldn't know where it went.
Yeah, those are really good ones. And that was the point of the question. What the intention was, food is just that tip of the iceberg, and like as you go, it's a doorway into you, into the depth and the vulnerability and the authenticity and the you that's in there that we cover up with food, over the years. And the presence, I mean, that it's like, I remember so vividly the times I would be you can be in your head, you can be somewhere, but you're totally in your mind and not at all present, because you're in the food battle, you're self-conscious about your body, or you're afraid people are judging you, or whatever it is. So yeah, those are really, really good ones.
I think for me, it's kind of a doorway into self-condemnation.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to just be really, I feel like a failure once I've chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking about eating for nutrition or when I'm hungry, but I mean, when I'm not, that's when I get very condemnatory. I feel like a failure because I know how to take care of myself and I'm not, and that type of thing. So, And I think too, it's kind of a doorway into, for me to see, I think that there's a lot of anxiety that I've never realized was there.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an outwardly anxious person or an outwardly worried person. And I don't actually think a lot about worry, but I think it manifests differently for me. And I'm beginning to realize that. So that's kind of what it's a doorway into that revelation for me. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Oh, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, anxiety has become more and more of a thing, I think, in the last, I don't know, not fairly recent times, 10, 15 years. And I think it is that we covered up with everything. I mean, with food, with phones, with to-dos, with endless busyness. So it for many women that can manifest as food covers it, but for a large majority of other people, it's overworking, it's over drinking, it's being over busy. So it's definitely, there's other manifestations of that. But yes, it is that there are some, as you're discovering, some challenging, hard realizations when you start to put down the food to say, oh, this is what I was not looking at, or this is what I was covering up, or this is what was there. I would say the big but to that is that the process through that, then when you do have anxiety, you know how to allow for it and process it rather than the food. And when you are bored or you get stressed or you need comfort, you learn all the things we didn't learn through this process to say, oh, I now know how to take care of myself. Whereas before, the food is the only way we know how to take care of ourselves. And that's why I think it can be so, like, we need to give ourselves so much grace when we turn to the food, because that's just what we know and that's what we learned. And it's not like we're not the failure for not having not turned to the food. It's like it's still our we're trying to take care of ourselves the best we can. And like our bodies, that's our body's way of trying to take care of ourselves, if that makes sense. So when you hit your edge of an emotion and you go to the food, you just didn't know how to deal with that emotion yet.
Right.
And I talk a lot about emotional eating, and that we have our edge, and so you might be okay dealing with boredom, but like when sadness hits, that's when you go to the food. So it's slowly moving that edge further and further and further as you learn how to take care of yourself in different ways and get those needs met in different ways. So yeah, there can be some startling realizations as you're finding, but it's that courage to look at them and to say, oh, this is what I was covering up and this is what I was using food for. And really, like, the phrase giving ourselves grace is just like one of my favorite phrases in this process, because truly it's the unlearning of all the stuff we learned, and really we learn how to take care of ourselves in a way that serves us without the food.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's powerful also. You guys are all like Zen Buddha masters with all your answers. All these wise women.
Jen, why is there only so many few people? Why don't people come
We had, the 3 UK ladies said, this is like 1 a.m. for them. 2 other ladies said they couldn't make it. I don't know. I always say, whoever comes is meant to be here.
All the time.
Okay, but we will close with a little meditation. So I'm going to meet you guys again. And if you want to take a big breath, close your eyes and just softly release. Put your hands over your heart and just feel your palm press against your chest. See if you can tune into the beating of your heart. That softness of your inhale and your exhale. See if you can tap into that feeling of giving yourself grace. What does it feel like? Is it soft, gentle, kind? Like a big sigh of relief, like a big hug? The grace to forgive ourselves, the grace to have courage, to be vulnerable. And then just take about 3 to 4 breaths, expanding this feeling, letting it wash over your body, giving yourself grace. And thanking yourself for being on this path, for having the courage to face the discomfort. Take one long, slow inhale and hold it at the top. Sip in a little more air. And then slowly release any tension, any last tension or tightness. Thank you, ladies, so much for coming. And it was good to see you all. I think I can't let you unmute yourselves. I don't know why. Maybe I changed the settings. Anyway, thanks for coming. And I'll see y'all soon.